Greetings, everyone. All right, so last video just played around with some ideas of what kind of poses or what kind of things little baby kaiju might be interested in. And it's kind of fun to think of a creature that is going to grow up to be naturally powerful, dreaming about being a powerful creature. And that's sort of what I'm going to kind of work on a little bit here. And it's not going to be super serious, but I'm going to just sort of take it semi-serious. So I'm not going to work on a variety of poses. I am just going to sort of focus on one that I thought was kind of amusing. I think with most kids, when they're playing hero, or even as an adult, if you want to feel some level of confidence, you could pose like this if you wanted to. Now let me zoom in on that a little bit, because distance-wise, you may not see what I'm doing. All right, I think that's going to be okay. All right. So yeah, I am doing this freehand, of course, so there could be some fun little mistakes, but I'm going very lightly to start. Now in my mind, I think it's kind of fun to look at a creature like that and think, would it be neat if they would look at someone like Superman and think, oh yes, I would like to be a little bit more like that. Especially if you're kind of being raised as if you would be a powerful creature. So in your tiniest form, and you're not quite there yet, what would you think you'd be like? Now let's go another level out. See if that'll lock down. Okay. Just get a little bit of ink on there. And for fun, we'll have one little S. Again, I'm just getting the basic shape before I add too much detail. just kind of the fun sketch way of doing things. Baby Kaiju here has an unusual tail. Almost kind of like a crab claw. How do I want the cape to be? Windy day? How windy of a day? Well, we'll see how this goes. So I think that's the basic shape that I want. And now let's see if we can add a little bit of detail in, where would we put the belly button? Gotta have that belly button for some reason. More inny than outy. All right. Time to ink it just a little bit. Although I'm already doing the ink. But you know what I mean. So tell me, have you tried this pose for confidence sake? It's one of those things that, you know, if you're at the swimming pool and you're just sort of standing around, you have the towel over your shoulder, you should give it a try. I think something about the way I did that eye. I want him to seem a little bit more happy. There we go. We turned up the mouth just a little bit. Maybe a little bit of sternness, though, is good. It's kind of that second level kind of sketching. Now, as I'm adding just a little bit more detail. Now, I've done a few murals. And that's kind of fun. But I don't think I've drawn like a Superman pose like this. To think about that. We'll have just a hint. We'll have that diamond shield kind of point towards his belly button. I think something like that. Okay. And we'll bring it up speed-wise. Of course, you can fast forward if you see fit to do so, or if you're drawing along just because it's funny, that's fine too. You know exactly how long the video is. If you're planning out just hanging out, imagine this. If it took a while for Baby Kaiju to grow, and Baby Kaiju was raised by the Kent family, although, you know, not really going to stay in disguise, be an entirely different outcome. You know, maybe be kindness from the very beginning, which I think is an important way to look at why Superman is the way that he is. Because if the Kents had anything to do with Baby Kaiju, he'd be considerate, he'd watch, you know, where he steps. I don't know, just kind of funny. Would be helpful. Would probably want to bake cookies and eat cookies and yeah. That whole nurture, and of course what could be a natural state, it would make a difference. I think so, in a lot of ways. I mean, a tiger raised in captivity will probably still end up being like a tiger. But at the same time, might have a little bit of that acknowledgement to its owners, especially, or the person or people that have raised them. I think that's kind of the main thing that I have going on here. I'm going to, just for fun, add a little bit of color to this. I'm going to start off with kind of a light blue. Just for fun. As if we got the outfit. Just kind of putting it in there rather lightly. Just around the outside mainly. Just some light blue. All right, set that down for a moment. Let's go to red. These trunks. Do this cape and L symbol, the House of L. Get this part of the cape here. Like that. Just for fun now, a little bit of yellow. But we don't necessarily need it. But I'm going to pretend that there's some built-in belt-like down there thing. Go back to the red here just for a moment. Make sure to get some more in there, just a little bit darker. When I was a little kid, it was always more fun to draw my own pictures and color them. Because, you know, if you liked Spider-Man and you liked Superman, your comic books and your coloring books would not have them together. And to me, it was like, well, I want to have them together. So I drew them that way. They're different IPs, of course, which is intellectual property. So they don't naturally hang out together. And as you get older, you kind of realize something else too, that although DC bases a lot of their locations on actual places, like, you know, you might have like Chicago or Detroit or even New York. Marvel tends to be kind of more closely related to the world that we currently live in. All right. Next, as I said in the last video, this is one that I was going to take just a little bit more seriously. Just for fun. I add just a little bit of color. to the rest of this. I think Baby Kaiju would like to feel the ground, so that's why we're not wearing red boots. We're still under 30 minutes right now. I'm going to add just a little bit more blue, and then we're going to very quickly kind of add some smudging to it, some shadow, that sort of thing. And we'll do the final cleanup after. Yeah. I have my water, see if that can focus a little bit better. All right. Now we'll very carefully start up here. I'm not going to go too wild with this. I'll sort of mimic a little bit of the dark hair that Superman has by getting some of that ink to come out a little bit, and then we'll try to avoid it in other places. I'll try to get some to come out for part of the jawline. Work on the tail, do sort of the same thing. Get a little bit of that ink to show up on the bottom. Just a little bit. Now let's go to this part of the blue. You remember, maybe they still exist. You can get coloring books that had paint dots on them, and as soon as you got out your brush and a little bit of water, it would bring out the paint. That's sort of what me doing this reminds me of. But I've been doing this for a little while just because I think it's fun. I'm trying to avoid involving the red yet, because I know it travels quite a bit differently. So I'm being careful to avoid some of that. Of course, I can add more back in if I need to, but I'll try to stay clear of the belly button just a little bit. Through the legs now. Now, if you could have any power of a superhero, it's hard to say what would be the best one. Obviously, Superman and Supergirl are the most, or amongst the most powerful of all of them. I mean, he's powered by the sun. And in our universe, our galaxy, that's pretty much the most powerful source of energy that we have. All right. Now it's time for the finessing of things. To be very careful with how we deal with red. Because it can move quick. Now with the Christopher Reeve Superman, I think it's kind of fun to remember that the director of the first couple of movies, anyway, is the same person that did The Goonies. And those are like, well, The Goonies are, I think they're going to do sort of a revamping of it, maybe, or I'm not sure now, come to think of it. But it's a pretty fun adventure movie. But yeah, Richard Donner. Pretty awesome director. This is kind of good practice, I think, for doing watercolors by using water. So yeah, now just being careful with the red. We're coming to the end of this part. I'll just have the lower part of the cape left to do, and then I'll bring out my sketchbook pen soon and add in some final detail, and then we'll let this sit in my sketchbook as a fun sketchbook exercise. Okay. Make sure the brush is sort of clean. Last thing. I'll just go back in very quickly. Make sure some of this is cleaned up a little bit. Try to remember what stuff I did a while ago so that it's hopefully dry enough to not just bleed. Just a little tiny detail stuff. Oh, we're at 40 minutes. for fun, we're almost done. Now I hope a lot of you still write in cursive. And practice it. Because I do think it's important to hold on to those things. Even as an art form. Make sure that J doesn't just look like another version of that Y. See if we can get that to stand alone just a little bit. Well, I think that's it. Thanks for hanging out. I don't know if there's anything else with this concept that seems like I could put more into. We'll have to see if James Gunn at some point will, yeah, in the cartoon world or somewhere else will invest more into the Baby Kaiju, because to me anyway, I just think that's such a fun character. All right. Oh my goodness. When to put the pen down, huh? Okay. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you at some point in the near future. All right. Ciao for now.